Six.
Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, chapter 1, text 17. Translation.
ट्रेन कितने बजे है? कितने बजे ट्रेन है?
3
शाम को ना? हाँ ठीक।
Text 17, translation. The path followed by pure devotees who are well behaved and fully endowed with the best qualification is certainly the most auspicious path in this material world. It is free from fear and it is authorized by the Shastras. Purport. One should not think that the person who takes to bhakti is one who cannot perform the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Karma Kand section of the Vedas, or is not sufficiently educated to speculate on spiritual subjects. Mayavadis generally allege that the bhakti path is for women and illiterates. This is a groundless accusation. The bhakti path is followed by the most learned scholars such as Goswamis, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Ramanujacharya. These are the actual followers of bhakti path. Regardless of whether or not one is educated or aristocratic, one must follow in their footsteps. Mahajano in gatah sapantha. One must follow the path of Mahajans. The Mahajans are those who have taken to the path of devotional service. Sushila sadhavo yatra narayana parayanaha. For these great personalities are the perfect persons, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yashasti bhakti bhagavati akinchana sarvai gunes satya samasate suraha. One who has unflinching devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods. The less intelligent, however, misunderstand the bhakti path and therefore allege that it is for one who cannot execute ritualistic ceremonies or speculate. As confirmed here by the word sadacharinaha, bhakti is the path that is appropriate, not the paths of karma kanda and jnana kanda. Mayavadis may be sushilaha sadhavaha, but there is nevertheless some doubt about whether they are actually making progress, for they have not accepted the path of bhakti. On the other hand, those who follow the path of acharyas are sushilaha and sadhavaha. But furthermore, their path is akuto bhaya, which means free from fear. One should fearlessly follow. One should fearlessly follow the 12 Mahajanas and their line of disciplic succession and thus be liberated from the clutches of Maya. Text 18. Translation. My dear king, as a pot containing liquor cannot be purified even if washed in the water of many rivers, non-devotees cannot be purified by processes of atonement even if they perform them very well. Purport. To take advantage of the methods of atonement, one must be at least somewhat devoted. Otherwise, there is no chance of one's being purified. It is clear from this verse that even those who take advantage of Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda but are not at least slightly devoted cannot be purified simply by following this other path. The word Prayashchittani is plural in number to indicate both Karmakand and Jnanakand. Narottam Das Thakur therefore says Karmakand Jnanakand Kevala Vishayara Bhand. Thus, Narottam Das Thakur compares the paths of Karmakand and Jnanakand to pots of poison. Liquor and poison are in the same category. According to this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, a person who has heard a good deal about the path of devotional service but who is not attached to it, who is not Krishna conscious, is like a pot of liquor. Such a person cannot be purified without at least a slight touch of devotional service. Text 19. Translation. Although not having fully realized Krishna, persons who have even once surrendered completely unto his lotus feet and who have become attracted to his name, form, qualities, and pastimes are completely free of all sinful reactions, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see Yamaraj or his order carriers, who are equipped with ropes to bind the sinful. Purport. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma suchah. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. The same principle is described here. Sakrin Manaha Krishna Padar Vindayoho. If by studying Bhagavad Gita one decides to surrender to Krishna, he is immediately freed from all reactions. It is also significant that Sukdev Goswami have several times repeated the words Vasudeva Parayana and Narayana Parayana, finally says Krishna Padar Vindayoho. Thus indicates that Krishna is the origin of both Narayan and Vasudeva. Even though Narayan and Vasudeva are not different from Krishna, simply by surrendering to Krishna, one fully surrenders to all his expansions, such as Narayan, Vasudeva, Govind. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.7, Mattah Parataram Nanyat, there is no truth superior to me. There are many names and forms of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is the Supreme Form. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Therefore, Krishna recommends to neophyte devotees that one should surrender unto him only Mam Ekam. Because neophyte devotees cannot understand what the forms of Narayan, Vasudeva and Govinda are, Krishna directly says Mam Ekam. Herein, this is also supported by the word Krishna Padar Vindayoho. Narayan does not speak personally, but Krishna or Vasudeva does, as in Bhagavad Gita, for example. Therefore, to follow the direction of Bhagavad Gita means to surrender unto Krishna, and to surrender in this way is the highest perfection of Bhakti Yoga. Text 20. Translation. In this regard, learned scholars and saintly persons described a very old historical incident involving discussion between the order carriers of Lord Vishnu and those of Yamaraj. Please hear of this from me. Purport. The Puranas or old histories are sometimes neglected by unintelligent men who consider their descriptions mythological. Actually, the descriptions of the Puranas or the old histories of the universe are factual, although not chronological. The Puranas recorded the chief incidents that have occurred over many millions of years, not only on this planet but also on other planets within this universe. Therefore, all learned and realized Vedic scholars speak with references to the incidents in the Puranas. Srila Rupa Goswami accepts the Puranas to be as important as the Vedas themselves. Therefore, in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, he quotes the following verse from the Brahma Yamal. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatra Vijim Vina Ekanti Hare Bhakti Utpataiva Kalpate. Devotional service of the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures like the Upanishads, Puranas, and Narad Pancharatra is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. A devotee of Krishna must refer not only to the Vedas but also to the Puranas. One should not foolishly consider the Puranas mythological. If they were mythological, Sukdev Goswami would not have taken the trouble to recite the old historical incidents concerning the life of Ajamil. Now the history begins as follows. Text 21. Translation. In the city known as Kanyakuj, there was a Brahman named Ajamil who married a prostitute maidservant and lost all his Brahminical qualities because of the association of that low-class woman. Purport. The fault of illicit connection with women is that it makes one lose all Brahminical qualities. In India is still a class of servants called Shudras, whose maidservants' wives are called Shudranis. Sometimes people who are very lusty establish relationship with such maidservants and stripping women. Since in the higher estates of society, they cannot indulge in the habit of woman hunting, which is strictly prohibited by social convention. Ajamil, a qualified Brahman youth, lost all his Brahmanical qualities because of his association with a prostitute. But he was ultimately saved because he had begun the process of bhakti yoga. Therefore, in the previous verse, Sukdev Goswami spoke of the persons who has only once surrendered himself at the lotus feet of the Lord, or has just begun the Bhakti Yoga process. Bhakti Yoga begins with Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, hearing and chanting of Lord Vishnu's name as in the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chanting is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Iva Kevalam. Kalam nasti, eva nasti, eva nasti, eva gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. The process of chanting the holy name of the Lord is always superbly effective, but it is especially effective in this age of Kali. Its practical effectiveness will now be explained by Sukdev Goswami through the history of Ajamil, who was freed from the hands of Yamdutas simply because of chanting the holy name of Narayana. Parikshit Maharaj's original question was how to be freed from falling down into hell or into the hands of Yamdutas. In reply, Sukdev Goswami is citing this old historical example to convince Parikshit Maharaj of the potency of Bhakti Yoga, which begins simply with the chanting of the Lord's name. All the great authorities of Bhakti Yoga recommend the devotional process beginning with the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Text 22. Translation. This fallen Brahman Ajamil gave trouble to others by arresting them, by cheating them in gambling, or by directly plundering them. This was the way he earned his livelihood and maintained his wife and children. Purport. This verse indicates how degraded one becomes simply by indulging in illicit sex with a prostitute. Illicit sex is not possible with a chaste or aristocratic woman, but only with unchaste Shudras. The more society allows prostitution and illicit sex, the more impetus it gives to cheaters, thieves, plunderers, drunkards, and gamblers. Therefore, we, we first advise all the disciples in our Krishna consciousness movement to avoid illicit sex, which is the beginning of all abominable life and which is followed by meat eating, gambling, and intoxication one after another. Of course, restraint is very difficult, but it is quite possible if one fully surrenders to Krishna. Since all these abominable habits gradually becomes distasteful for Krishna conscious person. If illicit sex is allowed to increase in a society, however, the entire society will be condemned, for it will be full of rogues, thieves, cheaters, and so forth. Text 23. Translation. My dear king, while he thus spent his time in abominable sinful activities to maintain his family of many sons, 88 years of his life passed away. Text 24. Translation. That old man Ajamil had 10 sons, of whom the youngest was a baby named Narayana. Since Narayan was the youngest of all the sons, he was naturally very dear to both his father and his mother. Purport. The word Pravayasaha indicates Ajamila's sinfulness because although he was 88 years old, he had a very young child. According to Vedic culture, one should leave home as soon as he has reached 50 years of age. One should not leave at home and go on producing children. Sex life is allowed for 25 years, between the age of 25 and 45, or at the time most 50. After that, one should give up the habit of sex life and leave home as the Vanaprastha and then properly take sannyas. Ajamil, however, because of his association with a prostitute, lost all Brahmanical culture and became most sinful, even in his so-called household life. Text 25. Translation. Because of the child's broken language and awkward movements, old Ajamil was very much attached to him. He always took care of the child and enjoyed the child's activities. Purport. Here it is clearly mentioned that the child Narayan was so young that he could not even speak or walk properly. Since the old man was very attached to the child, he enjoyed the child's activities, and because the child's name was Narayan, the old man always chanted the name of Narayan. Although he was referring to the small child and not to the original Narayan, the name of Narayan is so powerful that even by chanting his son's name, he was becoming purified. Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore declared that if one's mind is somehow or other attracted by the holy name of Krishna, one is on the path of liberation. It is customary in Hindu society for parents to give their children names like Krishna Das, Govind Das, Narayan Das, Vrindavan Das. Thus, they chant the names Krishna, Govinda, Narayan and Vrindavan and get the chance to be purified. Text 26. Translation. When Ajamil chewed food and ate it, he called the child to chew and eat. And even he drank, he called the child to drink also. Always engaged in taking care of the child and calling his name Narayana, Ajamil could not understand that his own time was now exhausted and that death was upon him. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is kind to the conditioned soul. Although this man completely forgot Narayan, he was calling his child saying, Narayana, please come eat this food, Narayana, please come drink this milk. Somehow or other, therefore, he was attached to the name Narayana. This is called Agyat Sukriti. Although calling for his son, he was unknowingly chanting the name of Narayan, and the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so transcendently powerful that his chanting was being counted and recorded. Text 27. Translation. When the time of death arrived for the foolish Ajamil, he began thinking exclusively of his son Narayana. Purport. The highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and its spirit, by acquirement of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of one's occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. However or other, Ajamil consciously or unconsciously chanted the name of Narayana at the time of death, Ante Narayana Smritihi, and therefore he became all perfect by concentrating his mind on the name of Narayana. Text 28 and 29. Translation. Ajamil then saw three awkward persons with deformed bodily features, pierced, twisted faces, and hair standing erect on their bodies. With ropes in their hands, they had come to take him away to the abode of Yamaraj. When he saw them, he was extremely bewildered, and because of attachment to his child, who was playing a short distance away, Ajamil began to call him loudly by his name. Thus, with tear in his eyes, he somehow or other chanted the holy name of Narayana. Purport. A person who performs sinful activities performs them with his body, mind, and words. Therefore, three order carriers from Yamaraj came to take Ajamil to Yamaraj's abode. Fortunately, even though he was referring to his son, Ajamil chanted the fourth syllable of the Harinam Narayana, and therefore the order carriers of Narayana Vishnu Dutas also immediately arrived there. Because Ajamil was extremely afraid of the ropes of Yamaraj, he chanted the Lord's name with tearful eyes. Actually, however, he never meant to chant the holy name of Narayana, he meant to call his son. Text 30. Translation. My dear king, the order carriers of Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, immediately arrived when they heard the holy name of their master from the mouth of the dying Ajamil, who had certainly chanted without offense because he had chanted in complete anxiety. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks, Hari Kirtanam Vishapayat Patan Katham Bhutasya Bhartur Nama Bhuvatah. The order carriers of Lord Vishnu came because Ajamil had chanted the holy name of Narayana. They did not consider why he was chanting. While chanting the name of Narayan, Ajamil was actually thinking of his son, but simply because they heard Ajamil chanted the Lord's name, the order carriers of Lord Vishnu and the Vishnu Dutas immediately came for Ajamil's protection. Hari Kirtan is actually meant to glorify the name. Hari Kirtan is actually meant to glorify the holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities of Lord. Ajamil, however, did not glorify the form, quality, or paraphernalia of the Lord. He simply chanted the holy name. Nevertheless, that chanting was sufficient to cleanse him of all sinful activities. As soon as the Vishnudutas heard their master's name being chanted, they immediately came. In this regard, Srila Vijay Dhwaj Tirth remarks, Anena putra sneham antarena prachina drashta balat udbhutasya bhaktya bhagavan nama sankirtanam kritam iti jayate. Ajamil chanted the name of Narayana because of his excessive attachment to his son. Nevertheless, because of his past good fortune in having rendered devotional service to Narayana, he apparently chanted the holy name in full devotional service and without offenses. Text 31. Translation. The order carriers of Yamaraj were snatching the soul from the core of the heart of Ajamil, the husband of the prostitute. But with resounding voices of messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas forbade them to do so. Purport. A Vaishnava, one who has surrendered to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, is always protected by Lord Vishnu's order carriers. Because Ajamil had chanted the holy name of Narayana, the Vishnu Dutas not only immediately arrived on the spot but also at once ordered the Yamdutas not to touch him. By speaking with resounding voices, the Vishnu Dutas threatened to punish the Yamdutas if they continue trying to snatch Ajamil's soul from his heart. The order carriers of Yamaraj have jurisdiction over all sinful living entities, but the messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas, are capable of punishing anyone, including Yamaraj, if he wrongs a Vaishnava. Text 32. Translation. When the order carriers of Yamaraj, the son of the sun god, were thus forbidden, they replied, Who are you, sirs, that have the audacity to challenge the jurisdiction of Yamaraj? Purport. According to the sinful activities of Ajamil, he was within the jurisdiction of Yamaraj, the supreme judge appointed to consider the sins of the living entities. When forbidden to touch Ajamil, the order carriers of Yamaraj were surprised because they had never been hindered in the execution of their duty by anyone within the three worlds. Text 33. Translation. Dear sirs, whose servants are you? Where have you come from? And why are you forbidding us to touch the body of Ajamil? Are you demigods from the heavenly planets? Are you sub-demigods? Or are you the best of devotees? Purport. The most significant word used in this verse is Siddha Satmaha, which means the best of the perfect. In Bhagavad Gita 7.2, it is said, Manushyanam sahastreshu kashchit yatati siddhaye. Out of million of persons, one may try to become siddha, perfect, or in other words, self-realized. A self-realized person knows that he is not the body but a spiritual soul. Aham Brahmasmi. At the present moment, practically everyone is unaware of this fact. But one who understands this has attained perfection and is therefore called Siddha. When one understands that the soul is part and parcel of Supreme Soul and one thus engages in the devotional service of the Supreme Soul, one becomes Siddha Sattama. One is then eligible to live in the Vaikuntha planets or Krishna Lok. The word Siddha Sattamaha therefore refers to a liberated pure devotee. Since the Yamdutas are servant of Yamaraj, who is also one of the Siddha Sattamaha, they knew that the Siddha Sattama is above the demigods and sub-demigods and indeed above all the living entities within this material world. Text 34 to 36. Translation. The order carriers of Yamaraj said, Your eyes are just like the petals of lotus flowers, dressed in yellow silken garments, decorated with garlands of lotuses, and wearing very attractive helmets on your heads and earrings on your ears. You all appear fresh and beautiful. Your 4 long arms are decorated with bows and quivers of arrows and with swords, clubs, conches, discs, and lotus flowers. Your effulgence has dissipated the darkness of this place with extraordinary illumination. Now, sirs, why are you obstructing us? Purport. Before even being introduced to a foreigner, one becomes acquainted with him through his dress, bodily features, and behavior, and can thus understand his position. Therefore, when the Yamdutas saw the Vishnudutas for the first time, they were surprised. They said, by your bodily features, you appear to be very exalted gentlemen, and you have such celestial power that you have dissipated the darkness of this material world with your own effulgences. Why then should you endeavor to stop us from executing our duty? It will be explained that the Yamdutas, the order carriers of Yamraj, mistakenly considered Ajamil sinful. They did not know that although he was sinful throughout his entire life, he was purified by constantly chanting the holy name of Narayan. In other words, unless one is a Vaishnava, one cannot understand the activities of Vaishnava. Text 37. Translation. Shukdev Goswami continued, being thus addressed by the messengers of Yamraj, the servants of Vasudev smiled and spoke the following words in voices as deep as the sound of rumbling clouds. Purport. The Yamdutas were surprised to see that the Vishnudutas, although polite, were hindering the rule of Yamraj. Similarly, the Vishnudutas were also surprised that the Yamdutas, although claiming to be the servant of Yamraj, the supreme judge of religious principle, were unaware of the principle of religious action. Thus the Vishnudutas smiled, thinking, what is this nonsense they are speaking? If they are actually servants of Yamaraj, they should know that Ajamil is not a suitable candidate for them to carry off. Text 38. Translation. The blessed messenger of Vishnu, the Vishnudutas said, if you are actually servants of Yamaraj, you must explain to us the meaning of religious principles and the symptoms of irreligion. Purport. This inquiry by the Vishnudutas to the Yamaraj is most important. A servant must know the instructions of his master. The servants of Yamaraj claim to be carrying out his orders, and therefore the Vishnudutas very intelligently asked them to explain the symptoms of religious and irreligious principles. A Vaishnava knows these principles perfectly. A Vaishnava knows these principles perfectly well because he is well acquainted with the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Give up all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Therefore, surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the actual principle of religion. Those who have surrendered to the principles of material nature instead of to Krishna are all impious, regardless of their material position. Text 39. Translation. What is the process of punishing others? Who are the actual candidates for punishment? Are all karmis engaged in fruitive activities punishable, or only some of them? Purport. One who has the power to punish others should not punish everyone. There are innumerable living entities, the majority of whom are in the spiritual world and are Nitya Mukta, everlastingly liberated. There is no question of judging these liberated living beings. Only a small fraction of living entities, perhaps 1/4, are in the material world. And the portion of the living entities in the material world, 80 lakh of 84 lakh form of life are lower than human beings. They are not punishable, for under the laws of material nature, they are automatically evolving. Human beings who are advanced in consciousness are responsible, but not all of them are punishable. Those engaged in advanced pious activities are beyond punishment. Only those who engage in sinful activities are punishable. Therefore, the Vishnudutas particularly inquired about who is punishable and why Yamaraj has been designated to discriminate between who is punishable and who is not. How is one to be judged? What is the basic principle of authority? These are the questions raised by Vishnudutas. Text 40. Translation. The Yamdutas replied that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, the religious principle, and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana and are self-born. These we have heard from Yamaraj. Purport. The servants of Yamaraj replied quite properly. They did not manufacture principle of religion or irreligion. Instead, they explained what they had heard from the authority Yamaraj. Mahajano in gatah sapantha. One should follow the Mahajan, the authorized person. Yamaraj is one of 12 authorities. Therefore, the servants of Yamaraj, the Yamdutas, replied with perfect clarity when they said, Shushruma, we have heard. The members of modern civilization manufacture defective religious principle through speculative concoction. This is not dharma. They do not know what is dharma and what is adharma. Therefore, as stated in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, dharma projita kaitavotra. Dharma not supported by the Vedas, dharma not supported by the Vedas is rejected from Srimad Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavad Dharma comprises only that which is given by Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Dharma is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. One must accept the authority of Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrender to Him and whatever He says. That is Dharma. Arjuna, for example, thinking that violence was adharma, was declining to fight, but Krishna urged him to fight. Arjuna abided by the orders of Krishna, and therefore he is actually a dharmi, because the order of Krishna is dharma. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vedesha sarve aham eva vedyah. The real purpose of Veda knowledge is to know me. One who knows Krishna perfectly is liberated. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam jo vedti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam iti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. One who surrenders, one who understands Krishna and abides by his order is a candidate for returning home back to Godhead. It may be concluded that dharma, religion, refers to that which is ordered in the Vedas, and adharma, irreligion, refers to that which is not supported in the Vedas. Text 41. Translation. The supreme cause of all causes, Narayana, is situated in his own abode in the spiritual world. but nevertheless he controls the entire cosmic manifestation according to the three modes of material nature: Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. In this way, all living entities are awarded different qualities, different names such as Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, different duties according to the Varnashram institution, and different forms. Thus, Narayana is the cause of the entire cosmic manifestation. Purport: the Vedas inform us न तस्य कर्म्यं कारणं च विद्यते न तत्समास चाभ्यन्तिकाश्च दृश्यते परस्य शक्ति विविधैव श्रूयते स्वाभाविकी ज्ञानं बलक्रिया च. Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is almighty, omnipotent. He has multifarious energies and therefore he is able to remain in his own abode and without endeavor supervise and manipulate the entire cosmic manifestation through the interaction of the three modes of material nature: Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. These interactions create different forms, bodies, activities, and changes, which all occur perfectly. Because the Lord is perfect, everything works as if he were directly supervising and taking part in it. Atheistic men, however, being covered by the three modes of material nature, cannot see Narayana to be the supreme cause behind all activities. Text 42. Translation: the sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and supersoul himself all witness the activities of the living entity.
Read it again. Read it again.
Yes. Translation: the sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and supersoul himself all witness the activities of the living entity. Purport: the members of some religious sects, especially Christians, do not believe in the reaction of karma. We once had a discussion with a learned Christian professor who argued that although people are generally punished after the witnesses of their misdeeds are examined, where are the witnesses responsible for one suffering the reactions of past karma? To such a person, the answer by the Yamdutas is given here. A conditioned soul thinks that he is working and that no one can see his sinful activities. But we can understand from the Shastras that there are many witnesses, including the sun, fire, sky, air, moon, demigods, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and the supersoul himself, who sits with the individual soul within his heart. Where is the dearth of witnesses? The witnesses and the Supreme Lord both exist, and therefore so many living entities are elevated to higher planetary systems or degraded to lower planetary systems, including the hellish planets. There are no discrepancies, for everything is argued perfectly by the management of Supreme God. Swabhaviki Gyan Balak Kriyacha. The witnesses mentioned in this verse are also mentioned in the other Vedic literatures. Text 43. Translation: the candidates for punishment are those who are confirmed by these many witnesses to have deviated from their prescribed regulative duties. Everyone engaged in fruitive activities is suitable to be subjected to punishment according to his sinful acts. Text 44. Translation: O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless. But those within this material world are all karmis, whether acting piously or impiously. Both kinds of action are possible for man for them because they are contaminated by the three modes of nature and must act accordingly. One who has accepted a material body cannot be inactive, and sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the modes of material nature. Therefore, all the living entities within this material world are punishable. Purport. The difference between human beings and non-human beings is that a human is supposed to act according to direction of the Vedas. Unfortunately, man manufactured their own ways of acting without reference to Vedas. Therefore, all of them commit sinful actions and are punishable. Text 45. Translation. In proportion to the extent of one's religious or irreligious actions in this life, one must enjoy or suffer the corresponding reactions of his karma in the next. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.18, ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्था मध्ये तिष्ठति राजसा जगन्य गुणवृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः. Those who act in the mode of goodness are promoted to higher planetary systems to become demigods. Those who act in an ordinary way and do not commit excessively sinful acts remain within this middle planetary system, and those who perform abominable sinful actions must go down to the hellish life. Text 46. Translation. O best of demigods, we can see three different varieties of life which are due to contamination of the three modes of nature. The living entities are thus known as peaceful, restless and foolish, as happy, unhappy or in between, or as religious, irreligious or semi-religious. We can deduce that in the next life these three kinds of material nature will similarly act. Purport. The actions and reactions of the three modes of material nature are visible in this life. For example, some people are very happy, some are very distressed, and some are in mixed happiness and distress. This is the result of past association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Since these varieties are visible in this life, we may assume that the living entities, according to their association with the different modes of material nature, will be happy, distressed, or between the two in their next lives also. Therefore, the best policy is to disassociate oneself from the three modes of material nature and be always transcendental to their contamination. This is possible only when one fully engages in devotional service of the Lord. Text 47. Translation. Just as springtime in the present indicates the nature of springtimes in the past and future, so this life of happiness, distress, or a mixture of both gives evidence concerning the religious and irreligious activities of one's past and future lives. Purport. Our past and future are not very difficult to understand, for time is under the contamination of the three modes of material nature. As soon as spring arrives, the usual exhibition of various types of fruits, and flowers automatically becomes manifest. And therefore we may conclude that spring in the past was adorned with similar fruits and flowers and will be so adorned in future also. Our repetition of birth and death is taking place within time, and according to the influence of the modes of nature, we are receiving various types of bodies and being subjected to various conditions. Text 48. Translation. The omnipotent Yamaraj is as good as Lord Brahma, for while situated in his own abode or in everyone's heart like the Paramatma, he mentally observes the past activities of a living entity and thus understands how the living entity will act in future lives. Purport. One should not consider Yamraj an ordinary living being. He is as good as Lord Brahma. He has the complete cooperation of the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart, and therefore, by the grace of Super Soul, he can see the past, present, and future of a living being from within. The word Anumimamsate means that he can decide in consultation with the super soul. Anu means following. The actual decision concerning the next lives of the living entities are made by super soul and they are carried out by Yamaraj. Text 49. Translation. As a sleeping person acts according to the body manifested in his dreams and accepts it to be himself, so one identifies with his present body which is acquired because of his past religious or irreligious actions and is unable to know his past or future lives. Purport. A man engages in sinful activities because he does not know what he did in his past life to get his present materially conditioned body, which is subjected to the threefold miseries, as stated by Rishabdev in Srimad Bhagavatam, Nunam Pramattaha Kurute Vikarma. A human being who is mad after sense gratification does not hesitate to act sinfully. Yadindriya Printaya Apranoti. He performs sinful actions simply for sense gratification. Na sadhu manne, that is not good. Yadatmano yam ashan api kleshada asadeha. Because of his sinful actions, one receives another body in which to suffer as he is suffering in his present body because of his past sinful activities. Text 50. Translation. Above the five senses of perception, the five working senses and the five objects of the senses is the mind. This is the 16th element. Above the mind is the 17th element, the soul, the living being himself, who in cooperation with the other 16 enjoys the material world alone. The living being enjoys three kinds of situations, namely happy, distressful, and mixed. Purport. Everyone engages in work with his hands, legs, and other senses just to achieve a certain goal according to his concocted ideas. One tries to enjoy the five sense objects, namely form, sound, taste, aroma, and touch, not knowing the actual goal of life, which is to satisfy the Supreme Lord. Because of this obeying the Supreme Lord, one is put into material conditions and he then tries to improve his situation in a concocted way. not desiring to follow the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nevertheless, the Supreme Lord is so kind that He comes Himself to instruct the bewildered living entity how to act obediently and then gradually return home back to Godhead, where he can attain an eternal peaceful life of bliss and knowledge. The living entity has a body which is a very complicated combination of the material elements, and with this body he struggles alone as indicated in verse by the words ekas 2. For example one, if one is struggling in the ocean, he must swim through it alone. Although many other men and aquatics are swimming in the ocean, he must take care of himself because no one else will help him. Therefore, this verse indicates that the 17th item, the soul, must work alone. Although he tries to create society, friendship, and love, no one will be able to help him but Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his only concern should be how to satisfy Krishna. That is also what Krishna wants. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. People bewildered by material conditions try to be united, but although they strive for unity among man and nations, all their attempts are futile. Everyone must struggle alone for existence within the many elements of nature. Therefore, one's only hope, as Krishna advises, is to surrender to Him. For He can help one become free from the oceans of nescience. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore prayed, Ai Nanda Tanja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budhau Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya. O Krishna, beloved son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant, but somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of nescience, and although I am struggling very hard, there is no way I can save myself. If you kindly pick me up and fix me as one of the particles of dust at your lotus feet, that will save me. In a similar way, Bhakti Vinod Thakur sang, Anadi Karama Phale Puri Bhavar Nava Jale Karivare Nadi Kripaye. My dear Lord, I cannot remember when I somehow or other fell into this ocean of nescience, and now I can find no way to rescue myself. We should remember that everyone is responsible for his own life. If an individual becomes a pure devotee of Krishna, he is then delivered from the ocean of nescience. Text 51. Translation. The subtle body is endowed with 16 parts, the 5 knowledge acquiring senses, the 5 working senses, the 5 objects of sense gratification, and the mind. The subtle body is an effect of 3 modes of material nature. It is composed of insurmountably strong desire, and therefore it causes the living entity to transmigrate from one body to another in human life. In human life, animal life, and life as a demigod. When the living entity gets the body of a demigod, he is certainly very jubilant. When he gets a human body, he is always in lamentation, and when he gets the body of an animal, he is always afraid. In all conditions, however, he is actually miserable. His miserable condition is called samskriti or transmigration in material life. Purport. The sum and substance of material conditioned life is explained in this verse. The living entity, the 17th element, is struggling alone, life after life. The struggle is called samskriti or material conditioned life. In Bhagavad Gita, it said that the force of material nature is insurmountably strong. Daivihi Esha Gunamahi Mama Maya Durattaya. Material nature harasses the living entity in different bodies, but if the living entity surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he becomes free from entanglement, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mameva ye prapadyanti mayam etam saranti. Thus, his life becomes successful. Text 52. Translation. The foolish embodied living entity, inept at controlling his senses and mind, is forced to act according to the influence of the modes of material nature against his desires. He is
So
like
we
a
can stop. We can stop.
ठीक है, हो गया.
Thank you.
रिबन लगा. रिबन लगा.
हाँ. हाँ.
रिबन बोल रहा था.
Which year did you start devotional service?
कितने सालों में भक्ति स्टार्ट की है? कब किए थे स्टार्ट?
क्या बोली?
कई सालों में?
कितने सालों में भक्ति?
नहीं होगा तो.
3 साल हमारे. 3 साल.
ये तो रेगुलर नहीं थे.
जी जी मैम.
Now, any more questions?
और कोई प्रश्न है? और कोई प्रश्न है?
सब सुनना देखो.
Yes ma'am.
What's that question?
क्या?
मतलब मेरे को कैसे एक्ट करना है सिचुएशन में.
हाँ? क्या?
सिचुएशन में कैसे एक्ट करना?
मेरे को वैसे परिस्थिति में क्या करना चाहिए.
अब वो भी आप जाओ जिधर आप थे पहले. These people go, they're worried. You're serving. Thank you. Let me see, okay. Yeah. जयपुर में भी ठंड होती है।
ठंड होता है वहाँ पे जयपुर में?
नहीं ठंड नहीं,
जयपुर में
नहीं हमारे भी ठंड, वहाँ गर्मी है।
गर्मी है।
हाँ
उड़ीसा में।
वहाँ स्वेटर की जरूरत नहीं है अभी।
जयपुर में
जी महाराज।
जल्दी से कर देंगे बात।
इसको बता दो रामदेव
आरती लीजिए आरती।
क्या मांगते हैं? इस बार हमारे मित्र जी बहुत तरंग पहले थक जाते थे, आज इस बार मैंने कहा एक क्षण आपको इस बार आज बंद नहीं करेंगे, झगड़ा हो जाएगा। यह प्रसंग इनके गुरुदेव का परम प्रियतम प्रसंग था, इससे बड़ा प्रसंग होने हो सकता है। और सबसे बड़ी गुरु भक्ति सिद्ध की है कि जो गुरु को प्यार हो उसी में निछावर हो जाए। इस बार ऐसा कुछ किया जो इनको नहीं मन था, पर मैंने किया नहीं, मुझे सौ वर्ष रहना था बाबा। अब तो 200 वर्ष कब आएगा, हम लोग रहेंगे कि नहीं, और रहेंगे किस जन्म में रहेंगे नहीं जानते हम। देखिए जन्म जन्म रत राम पद का सब नया सुना रहा। अब तुम्हारी बॉडी को चेक करूंगा, सब नया सुना रहा। जन्म जन्म रत राम पद का क्या करें, जब जब मेरा जन्म हो तब तब राम जी हो। अभी तो भरत नहीं हो। अब कृष्णावतार में क्या रहे जानते हैं, कृष्ण भगवान की जो लपटियां है उसी में भरत जी का भाव है, जो लपटी है उनकी कन्या जी को लपटी पर बहुत प्रेम। एक बार मां ने कहा कन्या लपटी छोड़ते क्यों नहीं। मां ये साधारण नहीं है, ये चित्रकूट के दंडवत करने वाले भरत जी ही इस समय लपटी बन गए हैं।